Ladies and gentlemen.
An international coalition. Writers, directors, composers create 24 stories in 24 countries, each film crafted together into an anthology. Each story then paired with a charity from different places in the world. Weaved into a compilation of creativity and interconnection during a time of isolation and fear from a global pandemic. Viral Film Project offers this world cinematic journeys of triumph, of overcoming, resilience, persistence, of acceptance, adaptation, celebration of human vulnerability and life. To new audiences in different cultures and cities across the globe, we will gift each other the brand new film that helps us let go of our past pain. We will tell ourselves with each film as a collective species on this planet that if we are determined to outlast our current fate, we need to tell new stories.
Let's go. Decentralized Pictures Talent Cast. I'm Matt. That's Will Hawkes and Darwin Shaw, creators of 6 Feet Films and producers of Carl and the Janitor, featured on the Decentralized Pictures platform. Thanks so much for being here, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Of course. So let's jump right in. Let's give the audience a little bit of context about you, your background, and history as a billionaire filmmaker.
Yeah, I think Darwin and I have a similar story. He can kind of follow up with his, but we both had other jobs before we became filmmakers and actors. I was a political science major and was deeply involved with community activism and working on supporting policy and running some nonprofits before this inner child that wanted to create movies kind of came bursting to the surface. I'd always shot stuff on the side, growing up doing that, shooting music videos and skate videos and skits and stuff. And I think before I went to grad school or went to work on a campaign full time, I said, I have to just scratch this itch. And that's been my life for the last 15 years. The majority of it as an actor. And then the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, getting back into writing, producing, and directing. And that's, having that agency over the stories that I'm behind that are going out into the world, I think became important to me, and wanting specific stories that were supporting causes or ideas that I was behind, and finding that film is a great medium to communicate that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but my background was really 20 years as an actor, and I started making films about sort of 8-10 years ago, and then it's been a natural progression to write and direct, and this project is something that really is not focusing on me and Will directing. It's about us acting more as showrunners and enabling writers and directors around the world to tell the stories they want to do. So we've really employed a lot of the different skills that we've gained over the years to help develop develop scripts and put the support in to help shape the stories. And that's been a really thrilling and really rewarding thing to do.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that intro, you two. So let's talk about the short film, Carl and the Janitor. Tell us more about this project and how, and I also want to talk about the antiviral film project or anthology. So tell us a little bit more about Carl and the Janitor and how it fits in to this antiviral film project.
Absolutely. At the beginning of the pandemic, we just recognized really quickly that everybody was facing the same direction, dealing with this same conflict. And no matter who you were, socioeconomic background, political, religious background, what country you were in, we were all facing this challenge. And I think emotionally, we were all going through the same thing. We were filled with fear and uncertainty and worrying about our families and our careers and work and our health. And we saw that as an important time, I think, to develop a bunch of stories that could reflect this shared experience. So we created the Antiviral Film Project, which is a collaborative of 24 filmmakers from 24 countries, telling stories about communities and families and their experience going through this pandemic, this shared experience. And Thomas Levin submitted a beautiful, really poignant script that Darwin and I both fell in love with. And we immediately started working with him and developing and clarifying it. And pretty quickly, we found a team in Denmark that could work with our team here in Los Angeles. And we started planning and pre-production. And by October in 2020, we flew during lockdown to Denmark and into Copenhagen and shot the first film of the Antiviral Film Project. They had just opened the borders and, getting special letters from their production company. We were able to travel in and gather a small team there to shoot safely during the pandemic in a single location in a small middle school. And really beautiful team came together in a short amount of time to tell this story.
Jeg synes, den her nedlukning var uendelig.
Ja, det har sin fordel.
I forhold til, hvor meget du har brokket dig, over at skolen aldrig rigtig lukkede. Det giver mening nu.
Jeg tror ellers, man ender med en 36-siders to-do-liste. Ikke bare dovenskab.
Richard?
Ja?
Hvem skal være din nye ven, når jeg ikke er her mere? Særlig mange, som var på den her skole. Måske endda på hele kloden. Jeg vil selvfølgelig ikke udtale mig om universet.
When the pandemic started, me and Will literally leapt into action, and we started to reach out to all our friends and friends of friends until we started to get connections in literally, over 70 countries. And then we started getting stories coming in from them. And it was this incredibly exciting experience of sifting through these stories until we found, the ones which really resonated. And, the main part of this project is not just to have a selection of films, but they're stories which all link together around this common theme of the social and political challenges which kind of put pressure on communities in different countries in the world. But we also have like interlinking themes and Easter eggs, and visually they blend from one film to another. So it was this real incredible jigsaw puzzle where we were able to place them. And when we just, when we came across Thomas's script, we really felt this was, really the heart of the kind of storytelling we wanted to make. And Thomas, as a director, his sensibility really resonated with us. And it felt like the really perfect place to start this project, because we could, as Will just described, we were able to go and get this project shot in a very specific time, in a very difficult, circumstance, and we felt that would be a great launch pad for the rest of the project.
Excellent. So, obviously a beautiful film. I've seen it myself. Incredibly well directed and well acted. And so let's dial in on the cast a little bit. So I know that there's some family members in this film. So tell us more about the cast and how it came to be.
Thank you, Matt, for that. Yeah, so I think Thomas was aware of the constraints we had, right? Shooting in a pandemic and the subject matter. And I think he wrote a story with characters that he knew that he could cast with family and friends quickly, and in a single location that they were all near. I think the characters were so specific, and so well thought out and clear in his mind and their point of view, that he was able to direct his wife, Laura Christensen, Soren Malling, and especially his son, Jacob Levin, into these roles. I think knowing their sensibilities as actors, he could match those points of view. Jacob hadn't done too much acting before that, a little bit, and he was obviously incredible coming in, filling these shoes in such a specific way, just endearing and brave and full of heart. And I think a lot of people fall in love, with Carl right away, that character, as soon as he pops on screen. And we were really lucky to have such a talented cast. Obviously, Soren Malling has been acting in Denmark and globally for decades, and is brought that experience and his talent, and the same with Laura. They recently co-starred in The Investigation, the HBO series that came out of Denmark, which was brilliant in its own right. I think they continued that collaboration and relationship into this piece.
Amazing. So let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about the broader collection, the 24 films in 24 countries. And you research this. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of collaboration, a lot of coordination. There's going to be productions all across the globe. And so how have you navigated this, and how are you going to make this a reality with managing this many productions in so many locations and the teams that are going to be required to execute?
Well, we shot our second film, which was one of the most complicated. It's called The Last Ranger, and this is a story set on a rhino conservation reservation in South Africa. And this involved having to work with children and wild rhinos, which was an incredible feat to achieve during the pandemic. So really this gave us using these two films gave us a template of how we're going to go about the process. So essentially what we're doing is we're having a local, what we call a satellite production team in each of the countries, which will be linked to the writer, people they know, people they have a working relationship if possible. And then as showrunners, we'll come in and work with them and shoot the project. And then, this will be happening simultaneously in different areas around the world over, hopefully a 2-year period. and then they'll be all collated in Los Angeles, where we will then weave them together to create an 8-episode series of 3 stories per hour.
Incredible project. Is there a completion date in mind to get through all 24 of these projects?
It really depends on financing, right? We've had some wonderful people come in and support the project so far, and have raised close to $200,000 so far for these first 2 films, and post. And we do have some matching funds in specific countries that are ready to shoot. And that's where we are now with finishing the second film in post-production, The Last Ranger, and connecting with financiers and expanding our community that wants to come in and see these stories come to life. You know, we all went through this pandemic together, and some people were affected more than others, but I don't think anyone was not affected at all. And I think it's a really important subject matter that we are going to want to reflect on, and, you know, hopefully experience some catharsis or understanding, or you know, and I think whether that project is this year or next year, or whenever it comes about, someone is going to make a pandemic project that represents what the world was going through during this really incredible time. And we think this one is a really brilliant one to tell that story. And DCP has been incredible so far, in both supporting Carl and the Janitor, and then also The Last Ranger as well, nominating that as a finalist for the Andrews Bernard Award. And I think, obviously, with the current state of independent cinema, we need to build these communities to continue to support it, because there's only a few streamers, and the studios are figuring out their own economic incentives and structure in creating film in this new paradigm with streamers and theatrical release. And I think it's putting that much more pressure on independent filmmakers. And I think DCP, the team there, recognized that. And, you know, going beyond crowdfunding, actually having equity and direct support in these projects, and then having a community that democratically votes on these projects to support. I think there's ownership, not just financially, but, you know, emotionally and kind of creatively. When someone feels aligned with a project and has that same aesthetic and wants to see that story out in the world, they can get behind it and they can tell their friends about it. And I think the bigger that we can grow this community, the more opportunities we'll give to independent filmmakers outside of the studio system to tell some really important stories.
Well stated. Absolutely. Well, guys, really appreciate your time today. And so how can the audience find out more about 6 Feet Films, and if they want to watch Carl and the Janitor, how can they access that film as well?
Well, Carl and the Janitor can be viewed on Bingeable, which is a streamer which has got great ties with DCP, and that would be bingeable.net/Carl and the Janitor. You know, you can contact us on our Antiviral Film Project website, or on Instagram, and anybody who wants to get involved or wants to find out more about how they can support the project, we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, you two. And for those that are watching, please follow us on Twitter, YouTube, all the socials. And Will, Darwin, amazing work happening. Can't wait to see what's next from the 24 films in 24 countries as part of the Antiviral Film Project. Thank you both again, and I'm sure we'll hear more from you very soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Bye.